tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, you could find us just about every social media platform, with the exception of those that have been censoring us, or material that's already been removed, because there's been a lot of that stuff going on. Things are getting removed from different platforms. Actually, I just signed up for Patreon.com. That's supposed to be a pretty pretty good spot to be able to have some freedom of speech and not be censored and whatnot. Um, we're starting to transfer a lot of our stuff over to that platform, Patreon.com, and that's you can sign up for that, and that's free to view. I don't intend to make anything a paid to view anything or anything like that. Nobody should ever ask for money to view anything on Beating Cancer Today, or to purchase anything on Beating Cancer Today. We don't do anything with money, um, and we'll never ask you for money. So if anybody ever does, that's a red flag. So just beware. Um, yeah, so everything's been censored or removed, and starting to kind of become contagious with the different platforms and stuff like that. So you'll be able to find everything on Patreon.com, Patreon.com. That platform under the Beating Cancer Today title. But for now, we're just using this platform on Facebook as our home base, where we're posting all of our relevant material, and that stuff comes up daily. So you can see that information every day as it comes up, and you can also share information on that platform. Um, so far, we haven't received too much censorship from that platform, but stay tuned because we're going to talk about that too. So um, recently, as yesterday, I received a notification from censorship uh, department or whatever. That's not what it's called. Um, it, on Facebook, they sent me a notification that said that one of my posts got removed for um, not entirely accurate information. It didn't say medical misinformation. It just said that it was not 100% accurate because a portion of it was based on theory instead of science, or something like to that effect. Um, and actually, it said something to the effect that um, uh, it wasn't very specific, So, but in any event, it got removed from the page, and it said that if I wanted to continue to be relevant, then I would agree to remove further content. But if I didn't agree to it, then they would suppress my page. So I'm going to be impressed if you can see this um, on that platform. So in any event, if it, one way or the other, it's censorship. Whether they suppress your page or they start removing content or whatever the case is, it's censorship. So um, so I guess I better get busy moving some material, because I'm pretty sure that soon that all of these platforms will fall in line with big pharma eventually, and they'll be bought and paid for, and they'll start steering the narrative just like everything else. But hopefully, the Patreon.com, hopefully they'll stay true to their freedom of speech and not censor people, and also. Truth Social were on there, but you can only do like 15-minute videos on that. So I don't know how much we're gonna get with that, but we're also on Rumble, and they're pretty good too, from what I understand. So just start looking for us more on Patreon.com, Rumble.com, and True Social, because as things progress, I kind of have a feeling that um, this narrative is gonna they're gonna start trying to control it. So as far as I know, Patreon.com seems to be pretty safe space where no censorship, it comes into play. So as a reminder, Since, we're touching on all this medicine stuff, my disclaimer is that I'm not a doctor, nor do I have any medical or biological or scientific training in any way. I'm just a United States Marine who was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer, and I continue to stay vigilant after the doctors had exhausted all of their efforts. I got to stay vigilant. I've since found success in taking alternative medicines and repurposed medicines that were clinically and medically proven to be effective in combating cancer. That's why I take it, because it was clinically and medically proven already to be effective in destroying cancer. So that's why I take it. I just read the medical information. I follow the science, right? So the ingredients of what I refer to as my cancer cocktail consist of it's 5 ingredients, right? The 5 ingredients are fembendazole. That's the star of the show, fembendazole. Um, I take the Safeguard paste is what I take, made by Merck. Cimetidine is the active ingredient in Tagamet, but cimetidine is the actual ingredient. AHCC, which is a collection of mushrooms. It's supposed to maximize your immune system. It's active hectose correlated compound, AHCC. Curcumin. Curcumin is a pretty well known supplement for anti-inflammatories and antioxidant. And annatto. Annatto is actually a really interesting thing because vitamin E is comprised of 2 elements, and one of them promotes the fenbendazole and supports the fenbendazole, and the other one is kind of a suppressant, right? So annatto is the only part of the vitamin E that matters. So the 5 ingredients: fenbendazole, cimetidine, AHCC, curcumin, and annatto. Those are the 5 ingredients of what I call my cancer cocktail. I began taking fenbendazole, a fenbendazole-based cocktail, in September of 2021. Over time, I dialed in the ingredients and of the cocktail to what ingredients I just shared with you. 6 weeks into taking this fenbendazole-based cocktail, I was 50% less disease. This is after the doctors had already exhausted all of their efforts and they sent me home. 6 weeks later, after 3 years of torturous chemo and radiation and surgery, 6 weeks after taking this fenbendazole based cocktail, I was 50% less disease. Doctors are scratching their head, don't understand why. But then 14 weeks into it, I had another scan. And that scan, 14 weeks in, I was no evidence of disease, what they call NED, no evidence of disease. Wow, it's coming up on 2 years, right? And I continue to take my cancer cocktail daily as if my life depended on it. Because, folks, I believe it does. So many other beneficial stuff that fenbendazole contributes to that's not even involved in cancer, right? I mean, obviously, it's an antiparasitic, and it's been used globally for that reason in humans. It's it's not a crazy thing. People all over the world take it. So this isn't crazy. This is just something that we don't take in the US because it's been suppressed because Big Pharma has a pill for that, a pill for that, a pill for that. So again, the ingredients of my cancer cocktail: fenbendazole, cimetidine, active hectose correlated compound, AHCC, curcumin, annatto, ANNOTTO. Actually, yeah, ANNOTTO. So So that's the ingredients in my cancer cocktail. And you could find all the information about each of the ingredients that's pinned to my feature section in his Facebook page under Beating Cancer Today. It's a group page where you can find this video, actually. I think this cocktail served me well. And I have complete confidence that it's a proverbial magic bullet. But every gladiator should have it should know their battlefield, right? Every gladiator should know their battlefield and understand that it's never a fair fight. I've already told you guys about what's going on in the world as far as the free flow of information and controlling the information, right? In today's society, you should question everything and resist at all costs becoming a sheep. You can't be a sheep. Question it all. In the event that either the current ingredients that I'm taking mysteriously become unavailable for some reason, or let's be fair, in case it stops working for some reason, I have a backup plan. And I've said it in other episodes. You always got to stay vigilant. You always got to continue to learn, right? So I have a backup plan, right? And I believe you should always have a backup plan. And you shouldn't have to get ready. I don't have to get ready because I'm already ready. You got to be ready. So in the when you're on the spot, you don't have to start hemming and hawing and, oh, what do I do? What do I do? It's a reoccurrence or whatever. I get a scan in a couple weeks and kind of nervous about it. There's really no reason why I should be nervous about it. I just am nervous about it because it's coming. And you know, but I know I already have things in place. If that day doesn't go my way, then I already have a plan. So this cocktail has served me very well, right? But you don't want to make a decision like that without being educated, right? So I do my research ahead of time. So um I think everybody would agree with me that even though I've gotten good scans, I have a history of good scans. I was fortunate enough to achieve no evidence of disease, and I've maintained that status for quite some time now. But regardless, and I think everybody would agree with me, you're always waiting for the second shoe to drop. And you try to stay vigilant and you try to build back better. You try to pay it forward. You try to just appreciate the health in this moment that you've been given. I actually have a scan coming in 2 weeks. I already said that. And even though I have a great track record so far, I always worry in the back of my mind, no matter how good I feel, and I feel great. I mean, I got honestly, all the problems that I have now is residual damage from chemotherapy and radiation. But what if it's not a good scan that day? And you just can't help but to think, right? I guess that's where faith comes in, right? We, and that's where you really need to exercise faith, right? When you exercise true faith, there's a certain peace involved in that. And this is where I kind of find some comfort as I get closer to the day of my scans. Because true faith in God is not believing that he can save you. It's knowing that he'll save you, knowing that he will, not believing that he can. True faith is knowing that he will. So you got to have true faith. Well, but that's what's going on in my life. That's what I have upcoming. But that's not why we're here today. Folks, we're not here today for that. Today I wanted to discuss something that is also in my backup cocktail. In any event, for any reason that my current cocktail fails, I have a backup cocktail. And in the base of that backup cocktail is ivermectin. We've talked about it before, but we're going to dig into it a little bit today. So the first time that I've ever even heard of ivermectin was when Trump had come out and said it cured COVID. Ah, that's going to get me censored, but I will not. I won't engage in it. I won't engage in it because just putting those two words together will immediately attract the algorithms to censor me, right? So I don't want to even get into it. But in any event, that was right around 2021. But to be honest, I was so sick then that it, parasites, fenbendazole, or I'm sorry, ivermectin, being a wormer and all this stuff, and parasites didn't interest me. I was so sick. I was riddled with cancer, and I was so sick. I, I, but I had no idea that cancer was parasitic, and now we know that, right? So, nor did I know that there was any correlation between parasites and cancer. Back then, but now we know what we know. Like we've learned a little bit. I think I would like to think that that theory of cancer being parasitic is not a theory anymore. I mean, we're pretty much we've dug into the science, right? So medical study after study after study. It's I mean, you could say now that it, cancer is parasitic, right? So I mean, cancer is such a uniquely horrible disease that and that means that, well, it's so terrible, right? I wouldn't have thought that something used to cure one thing would be what cures cancer. Like I wouldn't think that. Like I mean, kids, cancer is like terrible, right? But cancer, well, that's the narrative. Fear has been used for many years to steer the narrative, right? So I mean, since biblical times, right? So I mean, how could one how can one medicine be a multifaceted medicine when when it is regarding cancer? I mean, it can't be that simple for sure, right? So, I mean, cancer is such a uniquely horrible disease that it's almost certain death, according to what I hear. And isn't that what you hear? That cancer is the kiss of death. So, certainly something so catastrophic could not be cured with a $7 medicine for horses that would completely collapse the big business of cancer treatment, right? Fear, like I said, fear has been weaponized since biblical times. Cancer is terrible, this and that. Well, you know what? It could be like the common cold if people will start recognizing that there's some simplistic solution, possibly. So while searching for this episode, like researching everything, every place I looked on the internet had a big red bold warning sign indicating that ivermectin does not cure cancer and it does not cure COVID. I mean, it was like it was overkill, you know? So now I don't know how everybody else is, right? But when when something like when people go through such effort, such effort to steer me away from something, right? When somebody makes such a huge effort to deter me from something, and it goes through an extraordinary amount of explanation and examples and this and that. Well, the whole time, try to steer me in one direction, right? Well, only the whole time they're only able to tell me one blanket statement, right? One blanket reason why I should listen to them because they're following the science, which still to this day, I have not seen this science. Certainly not anything that is conclusive and makes sense. Sometimes that raises flags, right? I mean, I haven't been able to see anything that they were talking about. They just said follow the science, and my wife calls it mansplaining. They kind of mansplained it to us because they wanted to use these $15 words, right? So kind of like how all of the news channels right now, they talk about Ukraine instead of the catastrophic event that happened in Hawaii, all the deaths and still the missing kids unaccounted for, or how media was steered the direction of the coverage from, like, say, indicting a former president. Maybe they just steer the coverage to indicting another indictment for a former president instead of maybe focusing on open borders, spy balloons, pay for play politics for their sitting president. I'm sorry, cocaine in the White House. I'm sorry. I'll avoid the negativity, but just becoming hugely skeptical of our government and how all of the news media is complicit in steering the information to fit the narrative of whatever politics the government is pushing at that time. But I digress. I'm sorry for the rant, but it's a good example of how negativity can sneak up on you and pollute everything that you're talking about, right? So I can't get negative because that'll take credibility away from the message that I'm trying to get through, and that is about the medicine. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't get censored for this show, right? So I researched and I found the guidelines of which these platforms, the guidelines that they go by, and it's what they base their medical misinformation policy on. And I found a doctor who had contributed to and analyzed cases that were in compliance with that policy, right? To that policy. So this is where I found an analysis of ivermectin as it relates to being a cancer solution. Now, that was published by Dr. Joseph Mercola. This paper was published in May of 2022. So not even a year ago, right? Or well, yeah, year and change, year and a half. So, and it's been fact checked by every platform, medical misinformation policies, right? Um, Also, I've attached all of this information, and I'm actually looking through it right now. I've attached all of the information, all the sources and references that were cited or attached to the actual study that was published. All that information is pinned to the feature section of my Facebook group page, Beating Cancer Today, which should be the page that you might be viewing this on. I don't know. So for those for those of you that don't know, ivermectin is widely used. It's been used for years, actually over 40 years, 4 decades. So it's actually been used. It's actually on the it's listed on the World Health Organization essential medicines list. So, like, it's been used forever, not forever, but like for 40 years, and it's been used in people. It's all over the globe. as an anti-parasitic. It's also approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Information Administration, the FDA. It's been all over the globe, and with success, as an anti-parasitic medicine with success. Excuse me, with parasitic diseases, including river blindness. You don't want to get river blindness, but a bunch of other stuff like malaria, right? Other things that I can't even pronounce. That's what it's been used for and successful, but always in humans. It's also used to treat scabies and lice. And oddly enough, if you were in the Marine Corps and you spent a lot of time in the field, in a jungle setting, it's not unusual, to have some sort of an outbreak like that. I never experienced that, but I have heard about it in other units. Uh, and that's for human usage, the ivermectin in that case, in those cases, right? So it's not such a crazy or foreign thing, for human usage. They've been using it in human for 40 years. Even the Food and Drug Administration, they were quoted saying that it's extremely safe for humans. So it's also been demonstrated to have antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. I mean, that's kind of sounds like maybe it would be good for an epidemic. So um, that's why it made headlines when Trump came out and blew the lid off of it, right? The potential role in it treating COVID-19 just got censored. Although much of the positive press on that topic, it's been censored already. It's falsely labeled misinformation, just like they're probably going to whack this one. But now, post-pandemic, the topic of treating COVID-19 has kind of faded with all the rest of the scare tactics that Fauci was trying to steer. That guy should be on death row. He should be spending the rest of his life in jail. But anyway, I can't help to think how crazy it is. I just it's boggling to me, right? That how crazy is it? Could it be coincidentally that this once in a millennium pandemic brings enough attention to the efforts of an anti-parasitic medicine that causes people to start looking at a relationship between the cancer, the anti-parasitic medicine that was curing an epidemic issue, or at least got publicity for it. That much attention drawn to it. Then people started looking at it for cancer potential, and the relationship between cancer, parasites, and anti-parasitic medicine as a possible cure for other diseases, specifically cancer. So anyway, in this paper that Dr. Joseph Mercola, Dr. Joseph Mercola had published about a year and a half ago, I guess. He specifically declared that ivermectin has notable anti-tumor effects. Notable, which include, and I'll read it right off. Look, I'm reading right off of it, the published study. So nobody thinks, and it's also going to be pinned on the page. So I'm not misquoting or medical misinformation. This is Dr. Joseph Mercola. Right? So he and I'll say just what it says in the thing. Notable anti-tumor effects, which include inhibiting proliferation, metastasis, and angiogenetic activity in cancer cells. Folks, it's getting really easy to pronounce all these things because every study is saying the same thing. Every doctor is saying the same thing. Every published study that hasn't been suppressed or censored is saying the same thing. All the words are the same. So for me, it's getting pretty easy for me to pronounce all the $15 words, right? So anyway, I'll continue. I'll just read it right off the thing. It appears to inhibit tumor cells by regulating multiple signaling pathways, which researchers explained it. Sorry, I'm a little nasally for some reason, but researchers explained in the Pharmacological Research Journal, quote, suggests that ivermectin may be an anti-cancer drug with great potential, end quote. Listen, folks, I I could get into the science of all this stuff and try to impress you guys with all these $15 words that I can pronounce that I'm really not very good at pronouncing, but I try to pronounce them. Nobody really understands any of the words anyway. I can't even pronounce half of them. But I posted the study of the published information right on the page, and I pinned it to the feature section. So you can look for yourself at the particulars. But the brass tacks on it is that in the year 2015, these two jokers that came up with the ivermectin, they invented it. They were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2015. The medicine was said to be used not to treat only parasitic diseases like malaria or river blindness, but also shows promises in treating asthma, neurological diseases, in addition to cancer. This medicine was never supposed to be a monofaceted use. And when they awarded these guys with the Nobel Peace Prize, it was not only for the diseases that ivermectin was known to cure, but for the potentially unknown diseases it was suspected to cure. Also, you can find in the study that some of the unknown diseases that it was suspected to cure, let's touch on a few of those diseases that they didn't know at the time, but they suspected it. But now it's confirmed. So let's go ahead and break into that. All right. Breast cancer. Breast cancer. And I'll read it right off the study. Breast cancer, as it relates to the ivermectin, treated with ivermectin. The proliferation of multiple breast cancer cell lines was significantly reduced following treatment with ivermectin. Digestive system cancer. Ivermectin significantly inhibited the proliferation of gastric cells in vivo and in vitro, so in a lab. The drug also inherited colorectal cancer cell lines and inhibited the development of liver cancer. Inhibited the development of liver cancer. Wow. I have colorectal cancer. Urinary system cancer. It's another one. Ivermectin significantly inhibited the proliferation of 5 renal cell carcinoma lines without affecting normal kidney cells. It also has an inhibitory effect on prostate cancer cells. I mean, that's not it. Hematological cancer, all the blood cancers, right? One study, ivermectin killed leukemia cells at low concentrations while leaving normal cells unharmed. So, I mean, It doesn't stop reproductive system cancer. Ivermectin inhibited the proliferation of ovarian cancer cell lines and enhanced the effectiveness of the conventional chemotherapy drug cisplatin, improving the treatment of epithelial ovarian cancer. Epithelial ovarian cancer. I mean, brain brain glioma. Ivermectin inhibited the proliferation of human glioblastoma cells in a dose-dependent manner. Respiratory system cancer. Ivermectin inhibited the proliferation of lung cancer cells and may reduce the metastasis of lung cancer cells. Melanoma, another one. When melanoma cells were treated with ivermectin, their activity was effectively inhibited. There's more. Colorectal cancer. Boom. There are a ton of studies that reveal great benefits of using ivermectin as a combatant for cancer, specifically colorectal cancer, which is the third most common cancer worldwide. Coincidentally, that's what I got, right? Ivermectin was found to inhibit colorectal cancer cell growth in a dose-dependent manner, as well as promote cell apoptosis. So let me emphasize that ivermectin induced cell arrest in colorectal cancer during the study. So, I mean, it wasn't one study. They all reveal the same information. They all support each other. It leads researchers to state, I'll even give you a quote for that. Researchers to state, quote, ivermectin might be a new potential anti-cancer drug therapy for human colorectal cancer and other cancers, end quote. I mean, how many people got to say it before it's starting to be recognized in society? The study goes on to say, quote, considering that the war on cancer has been ongoing for decades with little show in terms of saved lives, repurposing existing drugs with favorable safety profiles and notable anti-cancer effects like ivermectin makes sense, end quote. I mean, I'm just going through, this is in the published study. That was published by their doctors. So there's no medical misinformation. I just can't understand why nobody's paying attention to all these doctors that did independent studies against the establishment without their money. They did independent studies that were published cases. There were published cases and reports that were all published. I mean, I don't understand why people turn a blind eye to that in society, in mainstream medicine, can't recognize that. These are the same doctors that y'all gave diplomas to. The pharmacological research scientist. It's an organization. They similarly noted, quote, drug repositioning is a shortcut to accelerate the development of anti-cancer drugs, end quote. I mean, I'm not the only one saying that the repurposing of this $7 medicine is a good idea. Doctors all across the globe are saying it, right? Not only has ivermectin been shown to permeate tumor tissues effectively. I'm sorry. This is still from the same quote there, from the pharmacological research scientist. Not only has ivermectin been shown to permeate tumor tissues effectively, but it has a long history of successful use in humans. They explained that even when doses were increased, no serious adverse effects were found. Eh, I mean, people ask me all the time. I My maintenance dose for fenbendazole is 1,000 milligrams a day, and I'm no evidence of disease. When I had disease, active disease in my body, I was taking 3,000 milligrams a day. So, I mean, studies show that there's no adverse effects with, increased dosage. So there's so many cases. There's so many cases and studies that have been published and suppressed or censored. Another project being conducted and suppressed is the development of an injectable form of ivermectin. So the injectable form of ivermectin, it could potentially overcome some of its limitations regarding solubility and open its use to a broader range of cancers. So, I mean, that's something to pay attention to. As an immune checkpoint inhibitor, ivermectin works best in the cells. Like there's hot tumors and cold tumors, right? So ivermectin works best in the cells that are hot tumors, which are already infiltrated by T cells, right? So the T cells have already infiltrated a healthy cell. It becomes a hot cell, a hot tumor. So ivermectin works best on those. If ivermectin could be injected into the tumors, inducing T cell infiltration into the area, right? So I mean that's a game changer. I think that's like direct death to the cancer cell. Um, it is possible that it could turn the cold tumor into a hot tumor, so turn them all into hot tumors, so they're more affected by the medicine. Uh, when they all turn into hot tumors, they become vulnerable to treatment, right? So that's when the fenbendazole or the ivermectin or anything, they become vulnerable, right? So research is actually even taking it, even making it more effective, and they're trying to change the delivery system so so it can reach every kind of cancer. But I got to tell you, the list of cancers is really, really long. I didn't finish even reading it, but I can't even I can't even beat the horse, because they're trying to they're trying to create more streamlined way of doing it through injectables, right? Which it confuses me because I don't know why you would go through all that effort to continue, dialing it in when they won't even acknowledge the stuff that you've already done. Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. In the US, ivermectin has been vilified as a treatment for COVID, SARS, whatever, despite the impressive inhibitory effects on the virus. People after Trump came out with that stuff, people all across the globe started taking ivermectin, showed a great track record, right? Even the FDA, vilified it. Like nobody wants you to take this because nobody's getting vaccines, right? So people are replacing big pharma with ivermectin. So what are we going to do? We're going to vilify it. Even the FDA has a dedicated web page warning people, quote, why you should not use ivermectin to prevent COVID, end quote. That's the dedicated webpage. It's interesting to note, however, that Africa has a lower number of cases, severity of diseases, hospitalizations, deaths than any other area around the world. Right. So it may be due to using prophylactic medications for endemic infections like worms, parasites, whatever. That could be a reason. Excuse me. So I guess I could say the same thing about cancer, right? I mean, they're using medicines that have already been successfully proven for COVID. Can say the same thing for cancer. So I have it pinned also on my Facebook group page, Beating Cancer Today. I have two maps: a map of uh, the cancer population of the world. They're both world maps. A map for the cancer population and a map for the COVID population. You overlay those two maps, and you'll see that it's pretty identical. The places that deworm have less disease, and that disease includes cancer, right? So obviously parasites and things of that nature, but they also have less disease. So if something's already been proven to work, why won't it be acknowledged? Well, they acknowledge the fact that it exists, and they create a narrative to vilify it. So it's not like they're ignoring it, right? But they are trying to discredit it, to discredit the people who speak about it. They'll censor me for sure. The drug, anybody who says that the drug is an effective treatment for anything other than worms or parasites, especially if you say that the drug is effective for treating COVID or cancer, you're out. You're out, Scout. No way. Well, listen, we're still working on it, but all the avenues are leading back. I mean, why won't they just acknowledge it? I don't know. We'll keep talking about it. We'll keep the narrative going, and hopefully somebody will see a video and boost it. It'll go viral, and then people start talking about it. But I mean, we're still working on it. But all the avenues are leading back to the almighty dollar. Aside from these observations, a study published about a year ago found that the treatment of ivermectin reduced mortality with COVID-19 patients, and to a greater degree, it reduced mortality with COVID patients to a greater degree of this medicine that they were using, medicine called remdesivir, which is a little bit hilarious because that costs about $3,000 a dose. Ivermectin, you get like a whole bunch of it, for a whole tube of it for $50. Do you think that has anything to do with the ivermectin vilification? Listen, folks, we're trying to grow this platform, so I might be able to get this message out to people that really need to hear it. I mean, we're in our double digits. We've now been on the air here for a few weeks, at least a few months. So I'm trying to get this out so we could grow this message. All right. So the message gets to the person who needs to hear it. So please share this link with your friends. Ask those friends to share the link with their friends. So hopefully we might be able to grow this platform and save some lives. As always, if you have any ideas for an episode or you want to reach out for any reason, you can always direct message me in Messenger, or you can email us at beatingcancertoday@gmail.com. All right. So until next week, I'll leave you with this. Probably the most important part most important thing that you could do as a patient is be your own advocate. All right. Always stay vigilant. Never buckle in the battle. Never buckle on your battle. You can't throw a punch from your heels. The time to relax is when there is no time to relax. You got to do now. We'll see you soon.